Matthew.
I'm Marty.
I'm Carlos.
And welcome to the Heroes 3 100th episode spectacular.
Yeah.
Welcome everyone to the episode 100 spectacular. This, of course, is Heroes 3, where three friends explore the best, worst, and everything between in the world of Asian cinema. And yes, we've done more than 100 episodes if you count bonus episodes and stuff. But I thought it'd be more fun to do 100 episodes as a thing instead of just another special episode.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
We just finished our look at Hong Kong and Hollywood, and we'll tell you what our next little arc is at the end. But I think this is going to be super fun. We got questions from lots of you guys, which we appreciate so very much. And we, of course, appreciate all of you for just listening to us for the past 5 or so years. So thank you.
Yeah, dang. We were faking it for a long time. I finally feel like we're making it.
Yeah, this is crazy. Yeah, honestly, it's still just like hard to fathom that there are listeners on the other side. So yeah, as Matthew said, we're so grateful. Thank you so much. Sending out lots of love wherever you happen to be.
Yeah, I'm speechless.
Yeah, no, it's crazy that we built up the listenership that we do, and we really do appreciate every single one of you. But I think, without further ado, we should dive into some of this Q&A. So
yeah, so I put feelers out, I guess, on all of our social media accounts, and yeah, we had a nice little batch of questions come back thrown our way, and they weren't anybody that we paid to do it either, which is even better.
Yeah, not even swim fans.
Yeah. So I think I tagged them based on where we got them. So I was thinking we could just do a little round robin. We'll just rotate and grab these questions. We got about like 10 questions for this, so that should fill out a nice episode.
Yeah.
And it's always fun to see what people do think of asking from us, like, because we talk about all these films and we talk about ourselves quite a bit, but I always was like wondering, like, what do you ask, and I really commend the people that chimed in and put a lot of thought into these questions, and it kind of reflects on us, like what do the people think that we know, or what are they really curious about, in our lives or in our interests. So yeah, I guess I wasn't speechless. I do have a lot to say, and I really do appreciate this. So yeah, I don't know, Matthew, you want to get us started with this first one?
Sure. All right, I'll get started. This first one comes from Andrew through our email, which of course is here's3podcast@gmail.com.
Whoa, what a pro.
Nice.
Well, it's easy whenever it's one thing. We're rock solid on that consistency. Andrew asks, what are the Asian films that for one reason or another you want to watch but have never seen? And in the email, he mentions both Michelle Yeoh's Magnificent Warriors and Jet Li and Shin Su-tung's Dr. Y and the Scripture with No Words, which I'm not familiar with. I've heard of Magnificent Warriors, not even familiar at all with the other ones.
Oh yeah, so they're both really cool.
Those would be good ones to catch up on.
For sure. And I think what I remember from the Jet Li film is it's kind of like a Indiana Jones style kind of adventure.
Ooh,
yeah, it's
fun.
Yeah. I remember there's like a huge stunt with like a locomotive in that movie, but
cool.
I'd have fun revisiting that.
Yeah, that'd be great, because we haven't really done like a total.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we've done some.
We did,
I think
that was
another
like
that was like
proper
that was like our second arc.
Yeah, I think
that was the second arc we did. That was back in 2017. So
yeah,
we could stand to dive back into Jet Li.
Yeah, we built a lot more muscle now. We can really dig into that now.
I mean, we did Cradle to the Grave, so
right.
Oh, right.
So you can only go down from there. No, well, I mean, for me, obviously, there's lots of Asian films that I would like to watch that I haven't, because that's kind of what this whole show is. For me, the big one is I've watched a bit of them, but I really want to just watch through the Lone Wolf and Cub movies. Just because I feel like it'd be fun to that, and the Zatoichi. It'd be fun to just have have seen all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure it would get tough after a certain point, but
well, I mean, Lone Wolf
there.
and Cub's more approachable because I mean, as far as films go, there's only like 6 movies, and they're all pretty cool in their own ways. But yeah, Zatoichi, that's like a lot of.
There's like 14 or something.
Oh man, there's more than that. It's like 30.
More than that. There's 30. Jeez.
And there's like a TV show with like
there's a TV
200
show.
episodes, and
I skipped the TV show. But.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. For me, I guess. Yeah, in a similar way, it would be touching on stuff that we've talked about but didn't elaborate on the podcast. So like also going way back, like Come Drink With Me was something that I really fell in love with thanks to Marty's bringing it to the show. And I've seen a lot of other King Hu films, but I haven't seen like The Fate of Lee Khan and like the Valiant ones. Those I would like to see. And actually a huge blind spot for me, which I mean I'm sure at some point we could rectify in the podcast, is like Korean cinema. So like I haven't seen the original Old Boy, so like
my god,
I know
wow.
I know when I say that out loud, everybody.
No, it's not with
like,
judgment. It's like I'm happy for you that.
So and I haven't seen the Western remake either, so I would really love to go, and check out.
No,
Korean
I
cinema,
I never watched the remake, and I probably won't. But.
Yeah. And I mean, the other thing too that I really like to dig into, and actually when we were doing Zatoichi, I started to look into it a bit, but I stopped, was like ninja cinema. So like, I'm not talking about like 80s awesome. Ninjas and stuff. I'm talking about like the 60s, like Dai stuff. So like Shinobi no Mono. I've seen the first couple of those films, but I know that there's a lot more to dig through, and I'd really like to check all that stuff out.
Dude, awesome. Yeah, for whatever reason, what's coming up right now in the moment is a movie called The Scent of Green Papaya, which I've always wanted to see. And I think it's partly because I feel like I have a giant blind spot when it comes to Vietnamese cinema. And that's always been a really highly recommended movie. I think it had a really big response, I think, at Cannes when it came out. This is like in the 90s. But yeah, I think I'd love to dig into cinema from countries that I have less exposure to, so Vietnamese cinema and more Thai cinema than just the handful of Tony Jaa movies that I've watched and rewatched a bunch.
I was gonna say that'd be cool to dive into. Like that could almost be an arc of Asian cinema that isn't from Japan or Hong Kong or mainland China.
I love that idea.
Yeah.
We are not experts. We are still students, so there's still plenty of ground for us to cover, and I think that's what's really fun about this podcast.
Carlos, you want to take the next one?
Sure. So the next one is from Benjamin. He emailed us, and he asks, if you could make your own 70s/80s Hong Kong movie, what would it look like, and who would star in it? Which is huge. That's so crazy. And when
that could be a lot of things.
When I saw that question, my mind just started, going through all of the all-stars and stuff. It's like a dream match, right? You can just pluck everybody you want. And for me, the star that landed right smack dab in the middle of this answer is Yukari Oshima. I mean, you guys know how much I love her, right? So I had this like kind of fun idea. It would be like a modern, like 80s-ish, like Hong Kong film, but actually would have something like, I don't know, like Peacock King, where it's like magic and crazy elements into it. So I would want to pull from Journey to the West, so she would star in a kind of big action, like kind of FX film. Almost like Big Trouble in Little China, almost, And I was thinking who would, because if you think of a really cool star, you're thinking of a big fight at the end, and who would you want to be in something like that? And for sure, Yun-Hwa at that time, I would want to see a fight between Yukari Oshima and Yun-Hwa. And I mean, throw in like Dick Wei and Lee Hoi-sang or Chung Fat as like the heavies, and I don't think that this film could fail. Like, I think it would be amazing. So as you could tell, I was thinking about this question pretty thoroughly.
Yeah. See, the first thing that jumped to my mind was Marty's dream project.
Oh yeah, the
which is
Lam.
Vo Chi Lam, where it's like the classic Wong Fei Hung story, but with Sammo Jackie and Yun Bu.
Oh man, he stole Marty's answer.
No, that's great. Because like really this good. Other thing is starting to pop in in my head just as y'all are talking. But yeah, it's like the movie that never was. Although, honestly, as long as those three men are still alive, we can keep this. We can keep
always
this
happen.
flame
That's
lit.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the other one that jumped in my head since you mentioned Yukari Oshima is it would just be a 20-minute short film, and it would just be Meiko Kaji staring straight at the camera, and it slowly zooms in.
Nice.
That's my dream film.
Oh man, beautiful.
I love. Sorry. Check out the Swim Fans episode on
yeah, female prisoner.
Female Prisoner 701.
Yeah,
Oh,
that would
dude.
be good too. Yeah,
Amazing.
nice.
Gosh, like for whatever reason, what's starting to like take shape in my mind would so if you remember like with Twin Dragons, how it was kind of put together to as like a fundraising effort for
Yeah,
the Hong Kong Directors Guild, and so it's like directed by like 3 different teams and choreographed by 3 different teams and everything. So I'm just imagining like if there had been something like that in like 1978, and so the movie is like in thirds, and it's like a co-production with Shaw Brothers and Golden Harvest, and
oh man.
and basically like for whatever reason I'm picturing, probably because it never happened, but like Gordon Liu is the star, but Yun Soo Chun so Simon Yun is like teaching him, and you'd
Oh,
have
man.
like 3 big bads like as you go, so you could have like Lolia and Huang Zhengli, and I don't know who the final one should be.
And it would
maybe Samo with a mustache
Yeah.
or something.
be like a exploration of martial arts or something.
But like, or you would have like different style, and so it's sort of like
yeah,
Lau Garlong directs like the first chunk, maybe Yun Wo Ping the second, maybe Samo the third, or something like that.
yeah, like almost like Bruce Lee's like the Silent Flute, like an exploration warrior's journey
Oh,
of
dude.
like exploring martial arts, but it would be like like a Lau Garlong kind of situation. Damn, yeah, that sounds amazing.
Marty, you take it away.
Okay, this next question comes from someone very near and dear to us in the podcast. So this is from Callie. She asks,
Who's that? That's
hint,
for the folks at home. That's
she's
my
married
wife.
to one of us. Yeah.
Yeah.
If your pet had to fight one kung fu actor, which one would they have a chance against?
I think that the key statement is which one would they have a chance against, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, which I love. I think that phrasing is just
Yeah.
fabulous.
So, I mean, for me, my dog Missile, I don't think he would have much of a chance against anyone, but if there is food around, he will defeat anyone. So, like, Sonny Chiba even wouldn't stand a chance if there's food in play. Missile would definitely win.
I like it. Well, my cat unfortunately passed away a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Horatio, in an actual fight, he wouldn't be able to beat anyone. That guy was useless, and I loved him.
Beautiful.
But I think if Jackie Chan walked up to Horatio and went for a fight, Horatio would just snuggle up with him, and
That's awesome.
Jackie would be defeated by his cuteness. That's what I think would happen.
You know, Horatio is like a drunk cat with Yun Soo Ten up there now. He's training with our drunken master.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh.
Yeah. That's
R.I.P. Oh,
awesome.
that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like it.
So I'll have to go with my parents' dog because we're in like a pet unfriendly building at this stage in our lives. But so our parents' dog Bella, she's rescued. Don't totally know the origin, but kind of like a golden lab kind of vibe. She's extremely shy. She would run away from everyone. I think she's pretty much only going to have like a fighting chance against our boy, the one and only, the legend Dean Sheck.
That's what I was waiting to hear.
Yeah.
Dean Sheck was also the first one I thought of, but he is somewhat capable though.
But it's
So-
like, yeah, as I say it, I'm still like really worried
Yeah.
for Bella because it's like, he's
Yeah.
unpredictable.
he's the wild card, yeah.
And
Yeah,
I'm also
totally.
just, I'm very afraid to put any of our animals in a Hong Kong cinema situation.
That's true. You never know what might happen.
That would
Oh
be
my
pretty
gosh, yeah.
bad news for any of these animals. Okay, let's. That was
Yeah.
fun. Let's get another one in.
Next one is from @OhThatCurly1 on Twitter, who said, "Do you think martial arts are for everyone?" And they followed up with, personally, I believe yes, martial arts for everyone, but I'd love to hear your perspective on it. Smiley face.
Awesome.
That's such a cool question. Like,
yeah, it is.
Are you guys interpreting it in terms of like just the martial arts themselves, or are you viewing it as like martial arts cinema?
I think we could do both.
How do you respond? Yeah.
Because I think with obviously, I don't know about y'all. I've never had martial arts experience as a kid because I was a massive weeb. Whenever I was a middle schooler, I always wanted to learn kendo after watching it on anime.
Oh, awesome.
Oh, nice.
But obviously that's in the late 90s in Pooler, Georgia, there wasn't much of that around. So I've always thought it was really interesting. There's a group of people that do Tai Chi in the park next to me, and I've never been able to build up the courage to go and do that. But
oh man, yeah, you should totally do that.
Go with all the old people in the park doing it.
I've also, I mean, when I was a kid, I took some karate classes because I watched The Karate Kid and I liked,
of course,
video games and stuff. So I've also admired the martial arts from a distance, and I do feel like, I mean, I'm fairly physical. Like I could see a path in my life where I would have taken martial arts if I really was more dedicated to things. But I do think something like Aikido or Tai Chi, some type of kind of, I guess, a softer style or something that would be about like discipline and kind of like well-being in your life would be fun to practice at this point in my life. I do like go to do like just like a cardio kickboxing thing every once in a while, and actually I haven't for a bit since like post-COVID, but it's always really fun to, and it's a kind of a social thing too, and you're all kind of sharing in that experience. But I do like what you were talking about receiving this question in different ways, and actually, like, when you think of the term kung fu itself, is like the original like kind of term kung fu could be applied to anything, and it was basically like something that you would achieve through hard work or practice. So I mean, you could flip this question around and be like, I mean, the martial arts kind of are for everything, for everyone, and it's like, what is your kung fu? Like, what are you skilled at that you've really worked hard at in your life? So it's just beyond the martial arts of like, like kung fu could be applied to anything. So I do think about that a lot when I'm talking to people, like, about what they're doing. Like, where I work, there's a lot of different people that work in different departments. So like there's chefs there and there's artists there and all of these people, and they all have their own kung fu. They just don't know that it's kung fu. You know what I mean? And I think
that's beautiful. And I do think that that's something that that so many of the martial arts films that we love capture so well. I would say especially on the comedic side, because it's like bringing like, oh, here's the kung fu of cooking or playing soccer, or doing your laundry or something. Yeah, exactly. But I imagine too, it's like if you're posing this question, to a Sifu or a sensei, they would answer, I think, with a swift yes. But I think even if you were talking to a kung fu practitioner that wasn't trying to sell you a package of classes, they would probably tell you yes too. I mean, it's even, I think, just among the, like, within the realm of the, Chinese martial arts, there are obviously branches that have more to do with combat, and from those branches, more to do with some that have more to do with fists and some that have more to do with kicking. But then there's also practices that we would consider martial arts that are less focused on combat and violence and more on, respiratory health and circulation and really kind of like meditative centering. My wife spends a lot of time focused on Qigong, which I've always been fascinated with. And that, at least the branch that she studies, is really kind of adjacent to meditation. So yeah, I mean, I think in the real world, totally martial arts is for everyone. And in terms of martial arts cinema, please, like, give us that challenge. I would say we, even from the movies we've covered up to this point, I think we could probably find a movie for everyone.
Oh yeah, for sure.
No, I was thinking that my wife is not and like I've tried showing her some of these movies, and she's just not really into a lot of them. But she did really love Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, which neither of us had seen before until we did the episode on it a while back. But yeah, but she liked that, and like that's just shows that there is going to be stuff that appeals to everyone.
Yeah, sure. And that film, I mean, you watched it much later, but it really grabbed everyone. There was like, this elegance and this beauty to everything that was being shown in that film. I think that's a really good like entry drug for like kung fu film.
Yeah, well said.
It's me again?
Yep, Carlos, take the next one.
So actually, and I kind of grouped these together, and we kind of already answered this question, but I'm going to go ahead and say it because this is like a twofer. So Julian 3000 has emailed us a handful of times, and I really enjoy our conversations. The first question he asked us was, what kung fu styles would you guys be interested in studying? And I think, like I said, we basically already answered that. So following that, though, he also asked us, if you were to make a kung fu movie version of Face Off, which martial arts actors would you get to face off? And actually, Marty kind of had his own answer in our Face Off episode.
This is crazy.
Yeah, which is really fun. And Julian, in his email, says that he would kind of do a Sammo Jet Li thing, where it was, it's not just about these characters acting as each other, but they also have to kind of emulate each other's fighting styles. And I think that's a really fun idea, and that would really be cool to see developed in a film. This was also another kind of question that sparked my imagination, and I actually came up with a pretty involved thing. It's not going to take long, but
I had
to write it down. I said, let's imagine a world where Face Off is a remake. So John Woo is actually paying tribute to his inspiration, Chang Che. And along with Chang Che, the original film would star Di Lung and David Chang, who they were known as like the Iron Triangle. These were like trifecta of like Hong Kong cinema greatness. And I actually said the film would be called The Two Faces of Foshan. So this would be like a kung fu film like version of Face Off.
That's funny.
It would be a period piece film, and I think, oh man, how cool would that be? And
using like weird like Taoist like ritual kind of
some weird black magic
weird
stuff
black
going
magic.
On. Yeah,
kill some more chickens.
Yeah, we definitely get a dead frog or something.
Oh man, that's amazing. Yeah, I think I love this idea that. And we kind of played with this in the episode, but that Face Off would be this, I don't know, like Godzilla or King Kong, this thing that continues to be remade. Like there's a tradition around it.
Yeah.
So like, I think if there was an 80s version, I think the ultimate Face Off would be Michelle Yeoh and Cynthia Rothrock.
Oh, man. Yeah.
And just, I don't know, those dynamics of that, and you could even really get into like culture clash stuff, like really go there if you want.
Yeah.
I can see it being pretty entertaining, having like the Hong Kong lens put on like the Guaylo, like, and now Michelle Yeoh and Cynthia are switched. Totally. So then it's like this whole situation that would be beautiful. I would love that. And
I'm sure it would be kind of problematic in some parts.
That's what I was getting at. Yeah, definitely problematic.
Yeah, expect nothing less, man.
But well, you were going for a remake of an old movie. I could also see it as a Hong Kong movie with Chow Yun-fat and Tony Leung as the two.
Oh yeah, that's
swapped.
Almost a very direct remake.
Yeah, it's just kind of a direct Hong Kong or John Woo connection with Hard Boiled.
Yeah, like stuff, the Departed / Infernal Affairs situation.
Yeah.
That's cool. Oh man, those are all good. Let's get making these movies, guys. We're making all these.
Let's get a time machine, kidnap some Hong Kong actors and directors.
Okay, all right, moving on. Oh, it's Marty again.
Is he?
It's Marty
again.
Okay.
Oh, and it's hilarious. How did we do
that's
this?
funny.
This is another fantastic question from someone very close and near and dear to the show.
That's funny.
Joanna asks, have you guys ever gotten into a fight? What would you guys fight about?
Oh, I guess I'm happy to say that we haven't really gotten into a fight. The most we have
amongst ourselves,
Right. Well, I mean, but for the podcast, I think that's what she meant.
I
she's
thought
talking
she meant
about
just a fight like in general.
Oh dang, you're
like-
making it real street. Okay.
Yeah, I mean we don't have to get into that if you want.
Yeah, if your statute of limitations is kind of iffy, you don't have to.
That's hilarious.
Well,
I mean,
I never got into I almost got into a fight once.
Oh, no.
Because I had an old roommate that was really bad, and
whoa.
things got a little heated.
Oh man,
This is in your
But-
adult life, you're saying.
This was in college, so I was like 19. So
Whoa.
technically, but yeah, but no, it diffused, and I was it ended up okay. Obviously.
Oh man, you had
but
such a pause. I'm like, what's happening? What's he gonna
dude.
say?
it might be a little too
Don't incriminate
too much of
yourself.
a downer of a topic for the fun podcast.
No, I definitely
Um,
think Joanna meant as us three together.
gotcha.
And the lifespan of the podcast, have we gotten into a fight? I love that though, and I
No, I
won't
don't
call the
think so.
cops.
I can't think of a time where it's even really gotten heated.
Well, I think the
Oh,
only
no.
the only conflict we ever have is figuring out when we're going to record.
Yeah.
And that's why I actually wrote that skit out for the Halloween episode, because I thought that would be fun to kind of wink at ourselves with that sketch.
Yeah.
But yeah,
No,
we're pretty
I'm-
chill guys, I think.
Now we are. I think we
Yeah.
try to keep it. Like I've never been anything more than a little frustrated. Never like angry, but just a little bit like, okay, all right, that's fine.
Yep.
It's never been anything that I would want to get to a conflict.
I
with.
also kind of think Joanna's trying to break us up by throwing this question in here.
So she's trying to Yoko the
Yeah.
podcast.
Nice.
Yeah, if you were trying to throw a wrench into the
Yeah, we
procedures,
parried
John,
that.
Hate to
Yep.
disappoint you.
Sorry. Nice. Oh, well handled. All right. Next question.
So, anyways, I'm starting my new podcast called Heroes One.
Heroes
And-
One.
No, we each have a bitter spin-off podcast called Heroes
Yeah.
One,
Yeah.
but we like spell it or style it differently. And it's like, this is the
One's like
real Heroes
WUN, one's the
Yeah.
number one, one's spelled out.
One's the hero one.
The
The
Oh,
one
man.
hero. Yeah.
one
This
hero.
is kind of funny, but and kind of related. But I'm involved with this like fighting game group on Facebook, and there's been this guy that never like says anything. He just posts like YouTube links of him like playing through different games, and it's the weirdest thing I've ever seen. So it's been a progression where it's like every week he'll post a video, and then sometimes he'll have like a girl with him. He's like, my girlfriend and I play like Tekken 6 or something. And then after a while, it's like, I broke up with my girlfriend. Like that's on like the
That's
type-
on the YouTube
the
channel.
thumbnail.
Oh,
Yeah, and it's like,
man.
and then it'll be like playing through Tekken 2 as Armor King and talking about my breakup, and it's like steadily like devolved, and I'm like starting to get worried about it.
Yeah.
But it's actually kind of riveting. It's almost like this. I don't know. Is this like some Andy Kaufman like kayfabe? Like what's really going on here? It's been crazy. Yeah. Anyways, yeah. So next.
Your stories.
Yep. Next question. We're back at
That's
you,
funny.
Matthew.
Okay, this is from Narnar Tiger.
Yeah, it's one
Sure.
of our
Let's say
Reddit
Narnar.
fans. Yes.
Yeah, for Narnar Tiger on the Kung Fu Cinema subreddit, I'm guessing.
That's right.
Yeah. And they said, question for the group. What are some subjects you are so knowledgeable and you are confident you could teach a community college class about it? For me, I would
Oh.
love nothing more than to teach a really informative class about analyzing Kung Fu movies and video games and movies.
Cool.
Sorry, did you say that, Carlos, or was that in the Reddit post?
That's what he wrote.
Okay, cool. I just want to make sure I
Yeah.
wasn't immediately taking your
So
answer.
Carlos, you're just like taking the mask off right now. Like,
Yeah.
You are Narnar Tiger. Okay.
It is something that I feel pretty confident in.
All
yes.
700 followers on Twitter, they're all me.
Nice. Well, I feel like after this past year of episodes, Bruce Lee is definitely something that I feel equipped
Yeah,
to
for
handle.
real.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of a
100%
joke,
Very
could.
authoritative
Yeah.
on that.
I mean, outside of like Heroes 3 stuff, I guess like identifying like smaller players in Hong Kong films, like the stunt doubles and stuff. Like I've become really
Yeah.
good at like just finding those guys right away. And actually a couple of people over
Or like
the years.
Where's Waldo with Spotting Mars or something.
Yeah. a couple of times over the course of the podcast, people have come to us asking to help identify film, and I've been successful every time, which I'm pretty proud
Dang.
of. Yeah,
Dude,
and
that's amazing.
actually, I think on the Kung Fu Cinema subreddit is a pretty frequent topic where people go to that subreddit and say, "I'm trying to figure out what movie this is," and it's varying degrees of success. But I feel really proud that I've been able to do that pretty successessly.
Dude,
I mean,
should. That's amazing.
I mean, outside of that though, like Japanese jazz fusion and like and its foundational influence on video game music, like I could do that with a blindfold on.
Or Konami
Yep.
music class. Yeah.
Yeah, I think all three of us are equipped to kind of kill it when it comes to video game music. I don't know if the Heroes 3 users even know how powerful we are when it comes to that.
Yeah, that's true. That'd be a weird side podcast.
Mm-hmm.
I know for me, related to the podcast, there's probably a few other things I could do, but related to the podcast, I could definitely teach a community college course on how to have a home recording setup. And how to get started. How to get started with recording a basic audio and a podcast and things like that.
Dude, and podcast editing for
and audio editing, especially podcast editing and stuff.
So many times people have talked to me about the podcast and say, "Oh, where do you guys record?" And I tell them that we record remotely, and they're like, "What?" They can't believe it. So take that as a compliment, Matthew.
I do, definitely. And there's obviously there's a lot of lessons to learn from the pandemic and everything. But the biggest one that I learned is that most people are terrible at audio editing.
Yeah, we just kept trucking, and everybody else sounded like they had to figure it out from scratch.
Yeah, everyone had to figure it out for themselves. And
remember when ABC was doing like these kind of like charity, like gather all the A-listers to like sing from their house, and it would be a lot of like, 240p.
So bad.
Like 1-bit audio stuff. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Pat ourselves on the back for that. Good job, Matthews.
Yeah, thanks. No, and even now, like I feel kind of bad because like I don't know, it feels almost snobbish. But like I was listening to a podcast earlier today, and it had like a segment where it had like someone else recording a bit of what they were just talking about some subject, and I was like, I am confident you. Using your whatever setup you have right now, you could make it sound better than it does.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Sure.
And it's just, I don't know, it's just frustrating.
We're also jinxing ourselves by going on about this. So
That's
let's
true.
change the subject.
Amazing if somehow like the upload failed. It was something that was like totally not your fault, Matthew. And it was like I don't know.
That's true. That's true.
There's a jump cut to Matthew apologizing at the beginning of this episode for the audio.
If it was that bad, we would just do this again.
Yeah, nice.
It wouldn't be the first time. So.
No, that's true. Yeah, actually, that's probably good to mention. I feel like we're usually pretty open about that, but there have been a handful of times in the past where 1 to 3 of us have had to re-record material because of technical issues or network problems or something. I do really love your question, Narnar Tiger, and I would totally love to sit in on your class analyzing kung fu and video games and movies.
Oh, hell yeah!
Unfortunately, like I just don't operate from a place of confidence almost ever, and so there's so much that I'm really passionate about and like really spend my life focusing on. But
Marty.
I often find that it's like I'll realize what I might have some facility in as I like come to its defense or something like that. So I don't know, but I would love to have some kind of basically a film, like a Hong Kong film class that could really kind of engage the students and really get them to kind of speak up about the material, and then I could share what I do know. But I mean, like we were saying earlier, it's like we're all students, and there's still so much to continue to uncover with all this stuff.
Marty can teach a class in humility.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, you wouldn't teach a class in it like that.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I was going to say Marty could 100% do a college class on his job, music recording and audio mixing.
Yes, and audio mixing
and on analyzing film scores, because he did a podcast with that. And
Oh no, thanks, man.
And you could probably just stand in front of a crew and just talk about how cool John Williams is for 3 hours.
That ends up happening regardless of
Nice.
crazy. So
Right.
let's see. Who's up to
I think it's me, or is it? No, it's Carlos.
Oh, I think yeah.
Is it me?
It
All
is
right.
I
you.
think so, because I think Matthew just
Yeah, because I did just the last one. So
Okay. This one comes from at SwimFansPod.
who?
Yeah. It says here, and actually this kind of goes together with another question, but this is the question. Dear heroes, of all your episodes, which movie has the best original score? XOXO swim fans heart emoji. Oh my god, what a
Man,
scary
beautiful.
question.
Yeah,
This
It's
is
not just a
always
easy question,
best
but so fun.
original score is interesting.
I do think it's worded
Important
specifically.
caveat.
Yeah,
Yep.
Yeah.
because obviously most of the classic 70s flicks are using a lot of like sound libraries and stuff, and I
Yeah,
love how those
totally.
are utilized. But or Frankie Chan does some weird ass synthesizer
Yeah.
stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I
Or
think
Frankie Chan does 5 minutes of music and happily takes the screen credit. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I think for me, the one that jumps out is Once Upon a Time in China.
Oh, okay.
Awesome.
That has some really cool music. It has that awesome, new version of On General's Orders
Yeah.
and all that. And it's a cool one. And we're talking about scores, not just songs, because obviously some of those Bruce Lee movies have some sick songs. But I'm thinking of like scores throughout the whole thing. That's the one that jumps to mind.
Mm.
Oh, that's cool. That's James Wong, I believe.
I do think it's been really
it's a great
cool
film.
that we've been able to put a spotlight on a lot of the music and the films that we cover. So I think that's something that maybe people might not pay as much attention to, besides like the big, huge things in Asian cinema. And when I was thinking about this question, I mean, my personal taste always kind of comes up, rises up, to the top. And I still think that Battle Royale score from Masamichi Amano, it's like this huge orchestral score that
yeah.
really does kind of elevate that film up to a point higher than it normally would be. And I mean, I'm pretty sure this is Alex, and I know that he doesn't really like Battle Royale as much, but that's a film that I do really think of when I think of like film scores over the episodes. And I mean, and you mentioned not including songs, and yeah, I can see that too, but even still, I would put Endiran up with this answer.
Dude, yep.
Yeah,
That's
A.R.
true.
Rahman's
Yeah, A.R.
score,
Rahman, great score.
besides the great songs, I think when you hear like the I still think of that when I think of that film.
Yeah, dude,
and,
goosebumps.
Yep, and
Mhm.
I mean, but besides like stuff like that, I mean, Street Fighter 2 movie like that. That's like
Oh yeah, all that
Carlos'
new
score.
metal and
No, not that, not that one. The Yuji Toriyama score for that film is like one of my favorite scores ever. And It's not even just that it's Street Fighter. I mean, that's a huge part of it, but I love that score so much.
Oh, dude, that's amazing. Yeah, I mean, we've really been fortunate enough to cover some great film scores. I mean, thinking about Crouching Tiger, as you just mentioned, that score from Tan Dun is, I mean, I think that's like a modern classic. Gotta say, for like soft spot for me, what's coming up to the surface is Randy Edelman's score to Dragon, the Bruce Lee story.
Oh man!
Oh, yeah.
An April Fool's pick. That's beautiful.
It's a legendary piece. It's like this kind of thing where, and we talked about it a bit, but it's like that main theme. Bruce and Linda had like a life way outside of the film, and was like used in trailers for many years to come. And there's something about that zone of like 90s, like hopeful, rousing, stuff that like Randy Edelman was such a king of, and Michael Kamen and others were just amazing at. But yeah, I'm so glad we got to touch on that. Really talking about
recent movies that we've done, like
Don
a lot of the ones, like the Matrix has an awesome score. The Bloodsport, I love the Bloodsport score. It's like one of my favorite film scores, or like synthesizer scores.
Yeah.
Oh, man, so the No Retreat, No Surrender score was awesome.
Nobody told you that you face the truth alone.
Yeah. As far as like just like ironing down the best, I feel like it's way too hard. But I think with all of these examples, we've got some of the best of the stuff that we've talked about in the podcast. They also sent us an extra question, and let me pull this up real quick. This was, who are your favorite critics or writers in the Asian cinema field, or any field actually? So that's a good one, and that, I don't know, I'd have to think about that a lot.
Yeah, it's a good one that I don't think I have an answer.
Yeah, I mean, I did think about it a bit, and I guess I'm not as well read as I should be. That's kind of like a weakness for me. But I do think of like a lot of like Action Twitter like is a big active scene, and sometimes it's daunting to just even keep up with people looking at new material and people looking at old stuff. But I do think that there are a couple Twitter accounts that I'm always seeing really great critiques on things, and they're always bringing up like fun new things that I want to check out. One account is One Perfect Headshot, and there's always fun stuff there. And there's another Twitter account called Genre Film Addict that I really love. Actually, and recently too, I've shared this with you guys, but Eric Jacobus, the stuntman, and he does work in video games. Yeah, he's been making these video essays, and they are like literally like just awe-inspiring clips on all of the stuff that we love.
One of the most informative people I've ever come across in this stuff. Like, he's almost like the new, at least for me, like the new benchmark for like what we were just talking about a few minutes ago, just like, identifying the stunt double who's never in focus and only appears for 10 frames, and he's like he's catching all that, and really has an understanding of each filmmaker's and choreographer's like voice, and it's amazing.
Yeah, his latest video is on the finale of Righting Wrongs, Above the Law, the Yun-Bu, Cynthia Rothrock, Corey Yun film, and his analysis, and kind of, you can tell like the foundation of knowledge that he's got to support his analysis is just beyond perfect. And I mean, he works in doing these same things, and I've mentioned him a handful of times on the podcast already. You'll get endless knowledge from watching his stuff, so I highly recommend that. Also, actually, one of our listeners who does a lot of his own content that I also love is a content producer called Fanatical Dragon, and
Ooh, yeah.
yeah, he does really great unboxing videos, and actually he's recently started a Patreon, and I feel like he's kind of like the collector's like critic, where he gets these really nice sets, and he like goes into the ins and outs, but he also shares a lot of his knowledge, and a lot of times I'm really impressed with his knowledge. Like he's got such a wider spread knowledge than I do when it comes to Asian cinema. And I mean, honestly, I'd really love to get him on the show at some point, because he's just seems like a really fun dude, and I know that he's enjoyed our content and I enjoy his content, so we should make that happen at some point. So you should check out Fanatical Dragon. He's not as active on Twitter, but his YouTube channel is very active. He actually had a YouTube channel before that kind of got taken down because he was posting some I think it was Kage no Gundan, the Sunny Chiba show, and then he got a copyright strike from Japan, and those are like, you're never gonna like even be able to fight that if it comes from Japan, which is unfortunate. But he's still built up a following again, and yeah, he's got a great Patreon. You should check that out too. But like writers and stuff too, like I know Sam Deegan, she's awesome, and I listen to Twitch of the Death Nerve, and they cover a lot of like really cool like underside like seedy stuff, and I really like the stuff they talk about. But she's been doing commentaries for some Asian cinema picks too recently, and I really like to hear her insight. So I guess that would be another recommend. But yeah, I hope this is enough to kind of point people in directions.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, like I'm a fan of all this stuff too. I mean, like I said, like we're just some guys. We're not like these like masters that we like, have this knowledge that we were gifted from on high. This is stuff that we see from other people too, that kind of points us in directions of what we like.
Yeah, I feel like we're constantly like looking up.
Yeah.
And yeah, like hopefully with some amount of reverence. Also, not exactly a film critic, but another shout out to Frank Jang, who's appearing in a lot more commentaries these days, and also incredibly knowledgeable and great asset to like the Kung Fu film community.
Yeah, 100% agree. I do really think that it's cool to see like these voices really come up where, from a time it seemed like you always were hearing the same people all the time. So now you're starting to hear from other voices, and these people also have a really great wealth of knowledge that I really appreciate. The Podcast on Fire guys like Kenny B and all those dudes have been doing a lot of video commentaries for releases too, and I really appreciate all the work that they do. And every time I listen to Podcasts on Fire, I'm learning new things. So I'd recommend that. I guess this turned into a recommendations segment, but yeah, there's a lot of really cool people doing a lot of cool things in the space of Asian cinema, and I'm happy to see it, because we're getting all these releases now from all these companies like 88 and Eureka and Vinegar Syndrome and all these people, and I really like to see kind of that grow into more appreciation across the board. It's not just like people are just like picking like the same old stuff, but now you're seeing it in a new format. They're really digging stuff up and remastering, and we got that Cinematic Vengeance set that I love, and hopefully we just keep continuing on this. It almost feels like it's a bubble that's gonna burst, because you're getting like multiple releases of the same movie. Like Righting Wrongs has 2 different releases. I know that the In the Line of Duty's got stuff coming out, and I think that there's a multiple release kind of situation with that too, which is kind of weird. But yeah, here we are. Asian cinema appreciation. I'm happy that we're here in the midst of it.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
I think Marty, is last one. Where'd this come from, Carlos?
Oh, Marty, you get to say this one, right?
Yeah.
So
sure.
you see on the document, it's all question marks, right?
I do.
So this is from Mang.
Oh, this is my like dear friend, like favorite person in the world.
So I kept this a mystery to you, and I'm so glad that our rotation landed this way.
Very
Oh,
cool.
dude. Yeah, if you happen to be listening, Meng, yeah, love you so much, brother. So the question is, in your opinion, what do you think is the most underrated / overrated kung fu film and why?
Ooh,
Mm.
this is a tough one.
Ooh,
We're
that's
on
a
the
This
good
is a tough
spotlight.
one. I think, well,
I think underrated is almost kind of easy because
Yeah,
it's like
yeah, I
it's
think you're
like
right.
most of them. like if you talk to the average person about kung fu movies, then they'll probably know like your Enter the Dragons, your Jackie Chan stuff, like your Rumble in the Bronx, and maybe they'll get a Wheels on Mules somewhere in there. But most of the ones, like we've done, I guess 99 main episodes, and I'd say probably like 10 of those are ones that the average movie going person that isn't
no,
like
that's a
into
fair
this
point.
cinema specifically would know.
Mhm.
Outside of obviously the stuff we just did, like The Matrix, obviously people know that. But so a lot of them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, that's a good. Oh man, that's a good. I think for me, like the underrated is probably also what is my favorite movie, which is the very first film we started with, Snake in the Eagle's Shadow. For whatever
Mhm.
reason,
Yeah.
I feel like it remains secure in this underrated state where it's like, I guess it's overrated by Drunken Master enough where that feels like the film that's more often pointed to
hmm
from the period and from the same crew. It's kind of like how in the Ghibli films, I feel like Castle in the Sky stays underrated in like some strange magical way. I
Yeah,
don't know
I
if you guys
getcha.
find this experience where it's like you can talk to people and it's like often the only one they haven't
Mm.
seen, and it usually doesn't show up on the list, and it's like, oh, but it's one of the best films ever made.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I think Snake in the Eagle's Shadow for me. Overrated. I mean, I feel like we dug into it so hard, but it's Game of Death. It's
Oh,
like it's,
yeah.
yeah.
it's really
Damn,
not
you know
like-
what? I agree with you. But I
Yeah.
also would say, as an underrated choice, would be Game of Death 2.
I would 100% agree with that.
Oh,
Game of Death 2.
dude, that's the perfect.
that
answer
was-
I
to
think
the
so.
question.
Yeah.
Game of Death
Game
2
of
is
Death 2
underrated. Game of Death 1 is overrated.
I still can't believe Game of Death 2 is a
Right?
movie. Like, that movie is incredible. And whenever you kept talking about it, Marty, and you were like, I love Game of
Yeah.
Death 2 so much, I was like,
can't be
how?
friends with him anymore.
How is that
What's
even
with-
possible? Then after watching it, I'm like, yes,
Yeah.
yes, go watch Game of Death 2.
Yep.
See the caveman fight in the Bond lair.
I think that that's our answer. Yeah, Game of Death and Game of Death 2.
Yeah.
Wow. I do think that,
I
like...
will. This is maybe this is a hot take. I think after just so many years of build up, whenever I finally did revisit, because I had seen it a while ago, but whenever we revisited Drunken Master, the first Drunken Master for the podcast, I wasn't
sure.
as into it. And I
Totally
kind
get
of
that.
liked. I think Snake in the Eagle Shadow is I enjoyed that more.
Yeah. And
Yeah, it's
I
a
have to
much stronger
reevaluate because
film,
it is a
yeah.
good movie, but I think it just got built up so much because it's like, oh, this is one of Jackie Chan's first big movies.
No, I
and all that, so.
totally feel you.
And I think we got into that a bit on the Drunken Master episode because we had,
Mhm.
the span from Snake in the Eagle Shadow episode 1 to Drunken Master was so
Yes,
long
that's
that
true.
by then
That's
you
like
really did
2 or 3
have
years.
a bigger appreciation for these films. So actually, that's a really cool. I'm glad that you said that because that kind of shows your growth on the podcast, Matthew. That's awesome. I was gonna say
Right.
the Ip Man films because they're so huge and everybody
Yeah.
knows those, and it's like
Right.
they're so loose with the facts, and it's like this kind of this patriotism thing. So, but I think there's
Yeah,
still a lot
totally.
of there's a lot of
There's
fun
some great
in Ip Man.
sequences. Yeah.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
fun, but that is fair though. Yeah,
Samo and Yuen Woo Ping choreographing lots of great fights. So
And Donnie, of course. Yeah.
yeah, and Donnie and Mike Tyson.
Mike
And
Tyson. Yeah,
just how crazy those guys. We haven't really talked about Ip Man 4, but like Scott Adkins is in that, and he's awesome. And yeah, I would say. I think our answer is the best though. Underrated, Game of Death 2. Overrated, Game of Death. Like how
There you go.
how good is that? So then Swim fans asked us about original scoring, and Meng also and this was directed to Marty himself, this question. Kung fu films had limited budgets where they often used a lot of stock music and other kung fu films, foreign films, albums, etc. available at the time. Of course, who knows if they even had the copyrights, right? Anyway, for you, Marty, which kung fu film had the best soundtrack and why? So we did cover that, but I wanted that in there because Mang took the time to ask that to you directly.
Yeah, no, that's beautiful. I mean, it's really hard to pick one, and I need to force myself not to mention Snake and the Eagle Shadow again, but also a very special mention to Mang, who really is like the most important figure for really walking me into this world, and especially into with that film. But the original version of that soundtrack, which has, you know, the Death Star, about
Star
to explode
Wars,
from Star Wars, and
Jean-Michel
Maurice
Jarre.
Jarre, and I mean, that synth thing from Jean-Michel Jarre is so amazing. And
I mean, it's still the outro for our podcast after 5 years because I love it so much.
But that whole period is great. I mean, like Popeye and Magnificent Butcher. Especially it's like when you start to find some of the go-to library pieces, and it's like, I feel like the music that pops up more frequently is sometimes like the stranger choices that like you wouldn't expect, like these very twee kind of cutesy, goofy cues that sound really ratty and degraded, just like sonically, and
I love it.
So that could be its own podcast. Someone like digging through the crates of just like turn of the 70s, 80s Hong Kong like needle drop scores.
Yeah, great stuff. Yeah, so these are the questions that we got. Thank you to everyone. Really, thank you so much for taking the time to take that extra step and reach out to us.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, give us.
And genuinely, if y'all ever have any questions at all, we love all of our listeners, but we're definitely not so busy that we won't be able to answer it. So please send us any stuff on our email. Here's number3podcast@gmail.com, or on our Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, which is also Here's Number 3 Podcast.
Happy 100, guys.
Happy 100.
Dude, happy 100.
I think it's actually like, it's like 119 or 120 or something.
It's something like that.
Yeah.
That's how many we actually have. But, but when it comes to mainline episodes, we'll say this is 100.
Yeah.
So now to start off our next 100 episodes, which maybe this next 100 won't take 5 years. We'll see.
We'll see.
To start off, Carlos had a really awesome idea, which was that to finish out the year before we take a little break in January, we're going to take a look at 3 movies that each of us picked to bring to the other 2, and we're going to do it in the introduction order. So first me, then Marty, then Carlos. I had to remember what the order was. I had to say it in my head. We're going to start with me, with my pick, and my pick is going to be Lupin III, Castle of Cagliostro from 1979.
Oh, dude. Awesome.
Yes.
This is the Miyazaki one, right?
Yeah, this is
right.
Miyazaki's first feature film before
Never seen it.
a good 6 or so years before Studio Ghibli's formed.
Oh, exciting.
And I really love it, and I have hopefully a guest lined up who's very into Lupin III, so I'm very excited to get them on. So until next week, we're taking a look at Castle of Cagliostro. I'm Matthew.
I'm Marty.
I'm Carlos.
And we are the Heroes 3. Remember your training. Heroes 3 is part of the Mercado Brothers Podcast Network.